Just to put a recap on the preseason, Brandon, well, your thoughts, we're going to have, of course, NFL going next weekend by the time this show runs. But what were your thoughts on the preseason, and what'd you take away, if anything?
If anything, is the key component of that, because there's so many NFL teams that really didn't play a lot of starters. And there's teams that did not play their starting quarterback at all. The Cleveland Browns come to mind. Obviously, they had the whole Deshaun Watson situation, but then they know they're going to be starting Jacoby Brissett for at least a period of time before the suspension came down. And then even after the suspension comes down, they don't play him in the preseason. So it's hard to get a full gauge, I think, on where a lot of these NFL teams stand, considering we haven't seen them full throttle.
I wonder if anybody's asked those exact questions. I'm sure they have in the press conferences after the fact.
Sure.
Because I'm Brandon, that was one of the things that I took away, and you and I did not talk about this off the air, but how many teams that either have question marks at quarterback or frankly bad quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we all have Aaron Rodgers or all have Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I get it. Or Tom Brady even. I don't care if I see Tom Brady or those other guys, although we did actually see Tom Brady for a few minutes in the last game. I'm okay with them not if they have those guys. But anybody else, what kind of arrogance level do you have to have as far as your evaluation goes to feel like you don't at least want to see him for a couple of minutes in the preseason against other teams? Now, coaches would probably say, well, we have, matchup, different periods where we have other teams come in, and those are a lot more.
Those joint practices, they really like the evaluations in that, and obviously they pour over the tape from practice. But I'm with you. I don't see how some of these teams are going to go into a season without playing some of those guys in actual preseason games.
Yeah, I'd love to see the motivation. I don't see how it helps.
No.
And frankly, if the quarterback gets hurt, who cares?
Right.
You don't have a good one anyway. So why not give some experience? The Jets come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets are playing their backups because Wilson gets hurt.
Yep.
And it looks like they've got, their starter. They're going to go with, what's his face? Played for
Flacco.
Baltimore. Flacco, exactly. They're going to go with Flacco. But the backup who's brought them back, and they've won every game in the preseason, they've learned a lot about him. And I understand backups are important, but when you don't have a good starter, what are you doing for your team for chemistry and all the different things that go into an NFL game if you're not playing them some? It makes no sense at all. It gives that false sense of security, which I think a lot of teams, that's really their only motivation other than assessing some talent at some positions. But to get that confidence level up, I would say they're doing it at the expense of maybe being better if they would actually play their starters a little bit during the preseason.
I think the Steelers are a team that come to mind that actually did it the right way. They played Pickett a lot. They played Mason Rudolph. They played Mitch Trubisky to see who's going to be the guy, but then also B, see how they do in those game-like situations. So let me ask you though, without these teams playing certain players in the preseason, how difficult is it from a handicapping standpoint to exactly know what we're getting into in week one?
Yeah, it's not as difficult as you would think, because in the NFL, the talent level across the board, unless you have Mahomes or Rodgers or Brady, when you step down, it's a lot like how we handle teams when their quarterbacks get hurt the week of the game. So key pieces like that. Everybody else, they show up, even if it's a lineman, a backup lineman or a backup defensive end. Those guys, there's not that talent level drop-off that you might think. If you don't have a start quarterback, you're going to get decent play at best out of the quarterback situation. So it's not something we're going to take into consideration a whole lot if they're not playing them early. We're going to go ahead and make our bets accordingly and let the public drive the money one way, credence of value the other way. Not only betting contrarian, but starting there. There's things you can do early in the year to get yourself to a better spot of making money that have very little to do with how Jalen Hurts matches up against whoever defense he's playing, and so on and so forth. Because Vegas has that similar information. We get a little bit deeper on some of those matchups than what the general public does, so we're able to find some value there. And then it's about perception versus reality. So a lot of different things get us there, but not playing the starting quarterback, some of these teams, makes no sense to me. To your point about Pittsburgh, their coach is the best in the league versus the number over his career as an underdog. As an underdog, he's incredibly successful. They do a ton right in Pittsburgh. They're figuring it out at quarterback. Trubisky looks like he's going to be the guy, but I think they're going to play Pickett before the end of the year for sure. I'm not a Mitchell Trubisky fan in any form or fashion, no matter who he plays for. I just don't believe he could throw. You take him to fair and say, here, throw this ball up against the throw it into the tire. I don't think he can hit the tire. He just can't throw it where he's aimed.
He's probably in the worst position of any starting quarterback in the NFL because the backup quarterback in college is always the most popular guy, right? In the NFL, they're playing in the stadium that Kenny Pickett played college football in. So if Trubisky, given his history, does anything substandard, the natives are going to be calling for Pickett in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's happening either way. He's in another bad spot, and he underperforms almost every single year. So